I spend half my time educating people on how modern day marketing works, and if they don't stay up to date, they're going to get left behind. There's one thing the website is missing in logistics is having a proper CRM, and I am baffled of how they do it.
They didn't know the numbers, and that was largely because they didn't have a CRM. There was no way of tracking opportunity, pipeline, deal stage. They just didn't know.
What a lot of logistics companies are getting wrong is they're talking about themselves. They're about us, the vision, the mission, our values. No one gives a shit. They want to know, can you help me solve my problem?
Some other industries where tech, as an example, there's no shortage of people in that space posting and providing content, especially compared to logistics and transport. But that's the opportunity in this industry because most people are not doing that. So if you just do a little bit, like you're going to stand out above the crowd. Pete, thank you. Welcome to the Forward Thinking Podcast. Really appreciate your time and thank you for joining. I thought we could kick off. Would you mind just maybe giving a bit of an overview on your background and how you got started with Whole Agency?
Yeah, cool. So thanks for having me on the show, Sam. Looking forward to having a good chat. I'm an electrician by trade, and as you can hear from my accent, I'm not from Australia. So I came here probably 2007. So must be 18 years ago or so. And I was working as a Sparky here on union jobs and whatever else. And then that was sort of the time I think from memory Facebook came out. I think it was sort of everyone like social media was becoming a thing. Just took a liking to social media and Facebook specifically, and then I sort of was dabbling in the back end of Facebook ads, and I got quite familiar with it and good at it. And then I was running ads for a couple of friends and a couple of gyms, and then they sort of shared my name around to another few friends and businesses, and I started doing Facebook ads management for a few businesses. And then I got to the stage I got off the tools and went set up a company called Stage Fright Management, which was a general digital agency for anyone and everyone and their cousin that would want some Facebook ads management. And then what I noticed with that, I was all self-taught and I was just doing courses like online masterminds, books, etc., and then just getting in the trenches. And then with that came, I was driving traffic to, like a shit website. So I was like, oh, well, we need to fix this website. So I started learning WordPress and how to update websites, which then led into SEO, which then led into like photography and videography. And then it just turned into like an end-to-end digital agency, so, which I was running from 2015. Then I was sort of at a crossroads, probably 2019, what am I doing here? And then I got approached by a friend, Moz Cassidy, who you might know from Blue Star Global Logistics. He was the CEO at Border Express at that time. And he says, yeah, let's, bring you in and help with our social, our media online presence. And I said, cool. So I was with Border Express, had them as a client probably for 3 years through COVID. And I really saw then that in the industry how bad it was in the sense of the websites were archaic. Like there was like virtually zero social media presence, and I just saw an opportunity. So I picked up a few more transport logistics clients, and then probably three years ago, I sort of went all in and rebranded Stage Fright Management to Hall Agency, and it started off pretty tough, but then picked up momentum, and it's been going really well ever since.
Yeah, nice. Thank you. So you were obviously Sparky initially and then just self-taught running some Facebook ads. Was that like pre 2015? Were you doing those Facebook ads? And those would have been
Yeah,
like probably the good old days with, I
the
mean, as
good
far
old
as
days.
Facebook ads, like you could kill it back then.
Yeah, they were killing it. It was very fruitful back then.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're not great these days. But yeah, that was the golden era.
Nice. Yeah. So you've been doing that quite a long time. And so really, would you say it was so Border Express kind of picking them up as a big client and kind of was that the first taste of the
Yeah.
transport logistics industry? Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good one because their website was the previous website was horrendous. Like it was, I just couldn't believe that such a big company had such a terrible website. And then that was the first thing that they had to do. And that's always the case, even with my clients. We always look at their website as like the motherboard because you have like that drives traffic. Anything you do on social media, people will check out your website. So it goes hand in hand, having a good look at the website, as a starting point.
Yeah, for sure. So coming in, landing Border Express, that was obviously the pivot into logistics. How have you found building your own agency in such a traditional space, right? Like historically, logistics and transport and freight forwarding, a lot of the companies have been doing the same things for the last 30, 40 years. Not a lot's changed, including websites by the sounds of it. But how have you found coming into this particular industry?
Probably challenging is a polite word to use. Like I spend half my time educating people on how modern day marketing works and how it's changed. The modern day buyer's journey has changed massively from what it used to be like, as you know.
Yeah.
So I spend a lot of my time trying to educate business owners, C-suite professionals on, what works today.
Hmm.
And if they don't stay up to date, they're going to get left behind. And it's a lot of pushback. I have a lot of keyboard warriors on my LinkedIn posts saying, like the work is won in the field, not in your feed kind of thing. This guy's
Mm.
arguing with me on my feed. It was quite ironic, but yeah, and it's just your demographic. I found the older, demographic, it's just what you're used to, and like, and that's life. Like that's just how it is in all like different areas of life. It's just what you're used to, and
Mm.
change is hard. People don't like change, so that's the battle that I'm in most days.
Yeah. Since you've started, I guess, like you say, 2019, around that time in the transport and logistics space, have you seen like the sentiment shift over that time? And especially because we had COVID, that changed the game for a lot of companies. But have you slowly started to see companies and owners be a bit more open?
Definitely, I've definitely seen a big uptick, and I suppose that's probably from companies seeing other companies doing it and then them getting involved because it's not rocket science. It's not a really difficult thing to do. You just need to document your business activity, different aspects of the business, and share it online. It's just most people don't have the time or inkling to do that. So I've seen a big shift in the industry, which is great because it's a win-win for everyone involved, I find.
Do these companies, especially like some of the larger ones, maybe like Border Express, do they have in-house marketing teams already, or is it a bit of a mixed bag in terms of that in-house capability, or then using someone external like yourself?
They did have someone internal that was sort of thrown it, gave the hat of, head of marketing. That wasn't their forte. And then I was helping them with, the strategy and execution. And then they got made redundant and they kept me on. And I suppose that's the benefit of hiring someone, like Paul is because we do the strategy and execution. We're not just someone that comes into your business and then outsources to another agency. We do it all. Yeah, so that's how it went down with Border Express. And most companies that I've came across don't have any in-house team. They might have one person, somebody like the receptionist or an admin who is familiar with like LinkedIn or is handy with a iPhone photos. So they usually get looped in. There's definitely opportunity there for businesses to get people in-house to do it.
I'd imagine like some of the objections that you might come across when you're having these conversations would be, well, we've been established for 30 years or 40 years. Business is okay, we're doing well. And they don't have any online presence or branding or awareness. And so they kind of just are happy with the status quo. But I suppose the counter argument is, well, if they did have an online brand and an online presence, how much more business could they potentially generate as well? When you're speaking with these companies, are you generally starting at the website level? Is that kind of the first like port of call for you to check them out and have a look, or would it be LinkedIn?
Yeah, usually they're LinkedIn if they've got a LinkedIn profile. If it's active or not active, then I check out the people within the business, the C-suite, which we'll probably get to later in this conversation. And then yeah, check out their website and reviews and stuff, and just see where they're at. Like I don't try and convince anyone. If companies are like meeting their goals and objectives, who am I to say like we can do better? Like I can share information, and I know that they would do better, but I'm not trying, like, it's pointless me trying to convince someone, push something on when they're not open to it. It doesn't work. I've had enough conversations like that. It just doesn't work.
And logistics is obviously it's so relationship driven, right? The two areas that we play in are freight forwarding and then the domestic transport side, specifically. And people have had relationships for the longest time. In your view, how does marketing and online branding, how does that complement those existing relationships that people have?
From a relationship perspective and marketing, most people think, whenever they think of marketing, they think of, oh, just prospect driven marketing. We need new business, right? And that's a massive fault, to start with, because there's actually four levels to this, which is, yes, prospects marketing is definitely one part of it, which is your relationship building, which we'll discuss. But then you also have to keep your existing customers happy. Okay, they need information, they want to be kept on side. So there's a strategy around that. Then you have to keep your existing employees happy, with different activations, culture stuff, events, from a employee perspective. And then you've got your future talent. Like, as you know, people go window shopping on LinkedIn to see, and then they go through your LinkedIn page to see if it's a vibe, to see if it's a good place to work. So there's those four quadrants, which I like discussing and explaining to companies, but they always just focus on new business, but they're missing. You can't grow your business without having good talent.
Yeah.
They go hand in hand. So a lot of them miss that point. So to your question about relationships, whenever you're posting content online, you're building that trust, credibility, and likability. Ultimately, people feel as if they get to know you. There's a psychological phenomenon called the mere exposure effect, where you actually tend to have a preference for something because it's familiar. You see it a lot. And this is how big brands work all around the world. And it's exact same for transport logistics. The fundamentals are exactly the same. So you're basically amplifying your presence online. So actually people see you more. They feel as if they know you. It's like celebrities, like if you've got any celebrity that you're fans of, you feel as if you know them. But if you if you walked up to them, they would say, "Who the fuck are you? Like, get away from me." But do you know what I mean? It's that kind
Yeah.
of psychology. There's a like a science behind it, but people just don't understand that that's how it works. They feel cringe. They don't want to post. But if they post every day for 30 days, they would continue posting because they would see a difference in leads that are coming to them.
That's very true, and like I can speak on my personal experience as well because we're active on LinkedIn and constantly posting and things like that. And like it's a mixture of personal posts and business and trying to add value. But when we post silly little things where we could be on a road trip up to Brisbane to see a client and we'll bring our dog, Leo, with us, and I'll bump into someone at an event. They're like, "Oh, how's Leo?" And it's like, "What? How do you know Leo?" Like, "Oh, I see you on LinkedIn and I saw you got," like, people really do take notice. And even if they're not engaging with it or liking it or commenting, they are
Yeah,
seeing it.
they're seeing it. It's subconscious. And it's a
Yeah.
touch point. Like, I think in 2005, I think the statistics were like a brand or business had to touch the consumer like between 5 and 7 times to be able to instigate that conversation. In 2000, 20, I think it blew out to like 30 to 50 touch points just because of the flooding of social media. So as you say, like having that personal stuff, those little quirks, like I'm a big advocate for that. Like I usually tell my clients around 10% of the personal stuff, 60% helpful, 30%, asking like, for the sale kind of thing.
It's funny because I'm sure you've obviously you would know this better than anyone, but the LinkedIn algorithm, it's constantly changing, but it's had a pretty big, what I feel like a pretty big shakeup fairly recently, and it seems like a lot of the personal posts are actually outperforming a lot of the business posts, and I don't know, for me it's a bit of a gray area because on the one hand I know the engagement will probably be really good if I just do personal posts, but I also want to provide value to the audience as well. How do you with your clients, how do you sort of balance that out? So you said typically around 10% you would suggest is on the personal side?
Yeah, 10% if they're comfortable with it. Like a lot of people aren't comfortable with it, which is fine too. And yeah, it's the people posts. So if you're in them, your colleagues, your friends, people love that. You think about Big Brother, that TV show. People watch other people fucking sleeping. like in their in bed. And it's like people are just nosy. We're just wired to, yeah, be nosy and look into things. Whereas if it's always, value based, like people genuinely know most of the time what you're saying, but they're just not doing it. So it's been a repetitive thing. So that's why a lot of the time some of the helpful stuff isn't helpful because they've heard it a million times, but they're just not doing anything with it.
Yeah. Where are they going wrong? Like, what are the common mistakes that you're seeing logistics companies make when it comes to marketing? Is it just they're not doing it at all, or are they not doing it correctly? What's your view?
There, a lot of them still isn't on board and doing it properly. Like they're still just posting pictures of trucks. Again, they're just showing capacity and like this is, our capabilities. Again, just that one side of the quadrant for new prospects. I always make a joke about it. Another truck pick. People don't care. So it's like, yeah, it's good to see that they're starting to do it, but they just basically posting for the sake of posting. There's no strategy really behind it.
Yeah. Do you think that this particular industry undervalues marketing? Would you say, like you've worked across some other industries before this, do they undervalue marketing compared to some other industries?
Definitely because there's not a linear return on investment. Okay. Like this is like one of my biggest hurdles too. It's like someone sees a post, forgets about the company, and then a colleague maybe shares a referral about the same company. Said, "Oh, I've seen them on LinkedIn. I must search their website and then contact or phone them." That's very, very difficult to track. It's called attribution. Very, very difficult to track because people can't remember, number one, and the tracking capabilities is very difficult when it's not online.
It's undervalued compared to other industries, and like you say, it's hard to track, and it's different because it's not a product. Like I've got a good friend who owns a clothing boutique, and he's
Yeah.
got his own brand and he stocks other brands. And for him, it's so easy to switch on an Instagram or Facebook ad. He might spend 10 grand that month, but he can see the ROI is 25 grand or 30 grand. It's a
Yeah.
very tangible return.
Yeah, very linear.
Yeah.
All of those product based, like TikTok Shop, all of those, people can see it, they buy it, boom, done.
Yeah.
Yeah, this service based is, as you say, it's relationship driven, and
Yeah.
it take of a long sales cycle. The thing is, back to that sort of quadrant, when you're attracting talent as well, like it's hard to put an ROI on attracting a new COO that comes into the business who actually 10x is the business, but that COO might not have come into the business if he hadn't seen a bit of a vibe from your LinkedIn page or your website kind of thing. If it's non-existent, it's very, very difficult to get that type of talent into the business. And I think that's one of the big things that I find with marketing and transport and logistics is attracting talent.
Yeah, and we can speak to that from our side for sure. When we're representing a company, obviously people are going to want the first thing they want to do is go to their website, and then generally the second thing is probably go to LinkedIn and have a look at company page, have a look at some of the people that work there. And if there's no presence, if the website hasn't been updated for 10 years, it's really difficult. It's difficult from a recruiter's perspective to try and get a candidate to meet with the potential client. And they might be well, they are a great company, because we wouldn't work with a company that isn't, but it's that initial impression that people are getting. And I also think that it's more important for the younger generation coming through, right? That 18 to, call it 34, 35, that range, versus maybe some of the older people that have been around and they don't maybe check online or check the socials as much, right? So it's only going to get more important, but it's a huge one for attracting talent. Like you've got to have some sort of online presence, and like you say, show a bit of a vibe on what it's like to work there, like show off the culture.
Yeah, it's like it's your digital storefront ultimately, and that's where people are going, looking. And I equate it to like marketing and logistics. It's like the dating game. Back in the day, there was no apps, obviously, so you had to go to the nightclubs, the raves, put in the hard yards, and I equate that to some of the salespeople in logistics that I talk to. They're still driving around looking for containers, googling, trying to get a building's number, and that's just the old way. Like today's dating game, as you know, you've got, an app where you can look at the digital storefront of, a potential partner, and you've got choice, and it's quicker and it's more effective, and you get laid quicker and you get into a relationship quicker. That's just the be all and end all. But if people use that analogy and go, there's a better way of doing things, more efficient way of doing things. Yeah, I use that story all the time.
Is it still predominantly LinkedIn in terms of where the logistics should focus their time and attention?
Yes, LinkedIn is the number one B2B platform currently. That could change. There's 1 billion users on LinkedIn and only 1% post on LinkedIn. So that's massive opportunity for people that, okay, well, if only 1% are posting, there's an opportunity for me to actually get in and start building my personal brand.
And I was just having a quick look at some stats earlier before this, and the engagement is much higher on LinkedIn than any other platform. I think, I don't know exactly, I think it's about 4 times roughly some of the other platforms out there. So people are on LinkedIn, but they're also engaging on it. But as you say, not a lot of people are posting, so that creates the opportunity to potentially stand out, whereas much harder to stand out on Facebook or TikTok or Instagram or any of these other ones, right?
Yeah, big time. Yeah, there's a real opportunity. The difference between like having the company marketing is important for, as I said, attracting talent, keeping current customers happy, keeping current employees happy, attracting prospects. But the sort of trend is leaning more towards, the individuals, taking their personal brand to that next level. And yeah, that's what I'm helping some of my clients do, because
Yeah.
people buy from people, as you know. It's the face behind the logo. And the beautiful thing is about these logistics leaders, if they move on to another company, they can take that personal brand with them. They've built the networks, they built the trust, they built the credibility. So that's a trend that I'm seeing and really jumping on to help people with.
That's interesting. Yeah, the personal branding part is very, very important. Is there any bits of content, or are there any little bits that you would suggest people could just start fairly easily, just putting out there from a personal branding point of view?
Yeah, like I'm sure 80% of your people out there are using some sort of AI, ChatGPT or Claude or whatever. Stick your existing profile in there and ask it to optimize it. That's step number one. Get a good picture. Step number two, update your banner, update your title, who you help having a call out on there. That's probably getting that foundation right. So that's like basically updating your website if you look at it from a different perspective. That's your landing page. Your LinkedIn page is your basic landing page, and then from there, just document your day. Just think about, if am I going to a networking event? Cool, I'll take a couple of snaps, tag in the networking group. Have I got any stories? Did I help anyone in the last few months with any freight coming in that I can turn into like a potential case study? Or I can ask such and such for a testimonial. Don't have to name names whenever you get a testimony, just have a role and an industry. Like there's so much they could do. And like this document your day came from Gary Vaynerchuk, which I'm sure you've heard of. So, and that's true. That's like, as I say, you think it's a bit cringy, but people are so nosy and they're so interested in other people's lives that they enjoy it and they get to know you, and you want to
Yeah.
know the people that you're doing business with. The objective is what we're doing here, is to build trust, build
Yeah.
likability, and build credibility.
I think even more so in our industry, because it is so relationship driven and it's a people focused business, as opposed to selling a product or just being
Yeah.
having a transactional business, right, where you add to the cart, check out, people buy off people. So that's really good. Do you think that, like, are budgets for logistics companies shifting, and are you seeing companies just get more serious about investing in marketing, whether it's external or internal?
I can only speak from experience with my clients. There wasn't an existing budget, no. They've created a budget, and then it's important to have like a media budget if you're creating content like overview videos, explainer videos, like drone videos over warehouses or whatever to show capability. And then it's also important to have like an ad spend budget too. So having the management budget, having a media budget, and then having a marketing ad spend budget, those three things sort of go hand in hand. We, one of my clients, we posted a job on LinkedIn and promoted it, and it's not cheap to promote a job, as you know, on LinkedIn. It's like $180 a day, but you get good rates, you get good quality, so it's an investment. So it's just trying to look at those buckets as an investment and a long term partnership.
Yeah. That's the key, right? I think you've got to go into it thinking that you've got to keep doing this consistently, week on week, month on month, year on year. It's not just do this for a few weeks and all of a sudden the revenue is going to start rolling in. It's you've just got to build it in, I think, to your existing workflow almost. Like for your business, are you kind of working with smaller to mid-tier players as well as some of the larger corporates? Is it a mixed bag?
Yep, definitely a mixed bag. I work with people who sort of get it and want and like they're inspired and they know that change needs to happen. As I said to you earlier, I don't try and convince people anymore. So the people that I work with, I can really handpick now and maybe don't understand it fully, but they trust the process and they go, I'm going to give this a shot.
They want to do it, they just don't know how to start or what
Yeah,
to do.
and then it's not their forte either. They don't have the time or inkling to consistently post. With my personal branding and outreach, like we catch up every 2 weeks, and they tell me stories and stuff that's happened, and then I go away and put stuff together for them.
Nice. What's your take on Google AdWords and SEO and around that side of it for logistics companies?
I'm not a fan. Like SEO, depending on what you do with backlinks and stuff, you're just manipulating Google algorithm. People are just creating pages and pages in your website, with loaded with keywords, and it takes time and it costs money. And at the end of the day, you're creating a false economy, if that makes sense. Maybe you're jumping up to number one on Google, but you haven't got the business to back it up. Do you know what I mean? So I don't rate it. Like there's a lot of the SEO AI architecture has changed. So a lot of websites have had a drop of clicks through from Google search. And that's because basically AI, the overview that comes up, as the snippets at the start of your Google search, usually has the answers to the question. So people aren't clicking through your website for the answer, which is on the blog that you've paid money for and created. So I still believe in creating helpful SEO/AI architecture blogs, and they work because they register on ChatGPT. So there is merit behind it, but that whole world is evolving so fast, as you know, it's moving
Mm.
very quickly. So I'm not even sure what it's going to look like in the next 6 months. But with Google Ads as well, Google Ads, you're just going to get weak leads. Ultimately, that's people. I don't do Google Ads because it's people in history. All of the clients that I've talked to that use Google Ads, they just all said the exact same. Yeah, we get weak leads, tire kickers, no good.
Yeah.
So spend your time putting the money into the brand.
It's probably industry dependent, I would say, but for a service-based
Oh yeah.
business in logistics and transport, it doesn't make too much sense. But if you're focused on your backlinks and your website health is good, like you're going to rank anyway, but it does take a bit of time.
And then again, people will, yes, if you rank higher on the page, but you're still going to click into the website to see the website, and then you're still going to check the socials. Like
Yeah,
people have a process around how they, 82% of B2B buyers will check you out online before even contacting you. Like
interesting.
that's a
82%.
statistic. 82%.
Yeah, wow. When it comes to websites, that's probably the first port of call for a lot of people. What are a lot of logistics companies getting wrong when it comes to their website?
So what a lot of logistics companies are getting wrong is they're talking about themselves. About us, the vision, the mission, our values. No one gives a shit. Like no one cares. They want to know, can you help me solve my problem? Whatever that is. I call them brochure style websites from, 10, 20 years ago. They were all the biz. A lot of people still have them, to this day. They're not helpful. They're all about the business and not about the customer. And that's the big shift that has to happen with even a layout of a website, like the homepage, which I'm sure you've maybe seen, like user experience. We're used to scrolling, through Instagram, scrolling through LinkedIn, just one continuous page. And then if we see something, we click into it. So I design our websites like that. So it make the 10 sections, it's a long homepage and you cover off all sections, the who we are, who we help, how we can help, and then case studies, testimonials, a contact form. It looks legit and it works legit. And then if there's more information, then they can click through and read it. But you've got everything in the one place. So that's how modern day websites are built from my perspective.
Yeah, that's interesting because there's a couple of websites I saw recently, and it was that brochure style. Like it was almost just like one page, but then you had to click through like 50 different pages to read anything. You couldn't scroll, and it was very, very outdated.
Yeah, and you want enough information on the homepage sections, you want enough for them to go, okay, that makes sense, or I understand it, but not too much that's pure text heavy. Like we're upgrading a website at the minute, and it's just 1,000 pages of text, very little imagery and stuff.
And when it comes to the photos that they're using on websites, what's your view on stock photos versus, in-house, like get a photographer and do professional photos?
We organize photographer and videographer for the website, but if again, some freight forwarders don't have fleet, don't have anything interesting. They just got the people in the
Mm.
office. So that's the only sort of whenever I would say, yeah, we can use stock content here. But
Yeah.
I try and add as much real content as possible. And it's hard because, the churn and people leave a lot. And then you have to take that person's not working here anymore, update this, update that. So it's a fine balance.
Yeah. No, it is. And that was one thing that they're getting wrong when it comes to websites. What would you say would be your biggest must-haves now when it comes to websites? Is it that like scrolling kind of UI UX design, or is there something else that you would say is like a non-negotiable these days?
Yeah, probably that UI UX homepage, but then a close second is having a quality contact form. That's not just your name, email, message. Okay. You want to have a contact form, and I'm a partner with HubSpot, so HubSpot creates forms and it integrates with websites that I build, and you can tailor it into whatever you need. So it's having enough questions in that contact form that gets rid of the tire kickers, but not too many that it puts people off filling it out. And that information is valuable to you to then start the conversation with them. That's
Yeah,
probably the biggest thing that I see that's missing.
the contact form. Hmm.
Good contact form.
Yeah. And you mentioned HubSpot, so you partner with them. There's obviously a few different tools out there, and we've tried different ones over the years, like MailChimp, and we've tried HubSpot. At the moment, we're not really focused on the email marketing side of things, so we're not really doing anything there. But is HubSpot, is that kind of the standout for you?
Yeah, I've tried them all.
Yeah.
And it depends what you need it for. So for a sales CRM, for a simple sales CRM that sort of meets you where you're at and then grows as you grow, HubSpot's the one, and it's cost effective. But then HubSpot's like as an animal. It's got lots of things. It's got a marketing hub, it's got a sales hub, it's got a content hub, does the newsletters, it does everything that you could really need in the business. But if there's one thing outside of the website that I would say that's the biggest thing that's missing in logistics is having the companies having a proper CRM, for their sales team to track. Most people use CargoWise, but that for me, that's a whenever the customers are saying delivered, okay, they're managed in CargoWise. But see, this is where a lot of money is lost in logistics. Like people who's complete the form and maybe they're not qualified as a lead at the minute, but they're just forgotten about. They're not followed up with, nurtured, kept in the loop. And then all of the company marketing that you're doing, there's leads coming in, through LinkedIn, emailing you direct, and everyone has either in their head that they're managing this system in their head or in an Excel spreadsheet. They're not doing it properly, and it has and these are big companies I'm talking about, big companies who don't have a CRM, and I'm baffled of how
Yeah.
they do it. Baffled.
I actually spoke to someone recently, a very, very senior salesperson. One of our first questions when we're interviewing salespeople is around the numbers that they're doing and targets and achievements, and whether it's gross profit, revenue, volume, doesn't matter. Every company is a bit different, but they didn't know the numbers, and that was largely because they didn't have a CRM,
Yeah.
and there was no way of tracking opportunity, pipeline, deal stage. They just
Yeah.
didn't know.
They're all the same. It's across the board. So I recommend that to my clients. So I've TFM Express. They're one of my larger clients. Again, they were running off spreadsheets. We had a demo with HubSpot, and they just like, wow, like sign me up. And now he signed up and got onboarded, loved it, and now he's got like the other 8 salespeople involved. They've all got seats, and he's actually sharing a testimonial with me soon, and I'll share it on LinkedIn because he was just like, should have done this a lot sooner. Like, there's a real value in it. Like, if you imagine that, like a salesperson who leaves, like they've got all of these leads in their head or on a spreadsheet, and that's gone. Like they've taken that with them. There's no follow up with that. or whatever. So it's good from a company transparency perspective. So, anybody can jump in and have a look to see what's going on for KPIs. The salespeople in logistics, there's a lot of room for improvement. And I'm not saying that from an arrogant perspective. A lot of them don't use Sales Navigator. They're not doing proper outreach. They're still going to networking events. Nothing wrong with networking events, but they're relying on referrals. Like, there's a better way, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. But I also think that that's the opportunity in this industry because most people are not doing that. You can really just stand out. Like it's
Yeah.
not like some other industries where a lot of people, okay, tech, right, as an example, and my background is from the tech side, there's no shortage of people in that space posting and providing content, especially compared to logistics and transport. So if you just do a little bit, like you're going to stand out above the crowd. And I think it's going to make a huge difference for people.
100%. Yeah, 100%.
What's your view on video content? Because I know that, like, I was reading some stats on LinkedIn and video is getting bigger and bigger. Would you suggest people mix it up, like posting videos, images, just plain text? Like, what's your approach there?
This is just my personal opinion on video. It used to be better than it is today, in the sense of our attention span is getting shorter. I don't know about you, whenever I see a video, I pretty much scroll past it. I haven't got time for it. So it depends. There's a lot of variables involved. I know lots of companies who are paying a obscene amount of dollars to create the most pristine video, which goes on their website or gets posted once to LinkedIn, and then it's forgotten about. It's like writing a New York Times bestseller and just leaving it on the shelf. Basically, they don't know how to promote this via LinkedIn. LinkedIn's very good at promoting video content for very cheap, relatively, and get in front of the right people. But yeah, a lot of people take real pride and joy in these expensive videos and do nothing properly with them. So depending on the video, because I think statistics have shown 45 seconds max, and it depends if it's engaging. There's so many variables. It's like if there's people in them, they do better. If it's behind the scenes, people, as I say, people are nosy, they want to know more. It depends on what the
The
content
context.
is
Yeah.
and the context. Yeah, the text posts work really well. Text with image posts work really well. Carousel posts, they're supposed to work really well. I just can't be arsed with them. They work better on Instagram because they actually show up the second page whenever refresh the feed. Just depends. There's a lot of variables.
Yeah. But I think the common theme would be just people posting a video that goes for 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes. Like you say, no one's going to sit through that the whole time.
In this industry, which is quite boring, as you might agree. So it would have to be something really, really interesting,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
somebody bringing in a UFO out of Gauge Cargo. Like I would probably watch all of that video.
That would be
Um,
cool.
but yeah, again, and then there's some diehard fans who just love, the boring and mundane. So I
Mm.
can only speak from my opinion, but yeah,
Well, I mean, I got told not to bring up AI because apparently I do that every podcast, but it's kind of hard not to, especially I think with marketing. Like it's one of those things, right, where you notice it now a lot on LinkedIn where it's fairly obvious who's posting with ChatGPT and whatever else they might be using. I'd love to hear your thoughts on how people should maybe use, let's just say ChatGPT, because AI is pretty broad. And I just think that most people are probably defaulting to ChatGPT compared to everything else. What's your view on particularly posting on LinkedIn using ChatGPT?
yeah. So I would say to get their specific tone and voice, like I would just record into ChatGPT, which you can do with the record function, and just say whatever's on your mind, and then ask ChatGPT to create a post off the back of it, keeping the context, keeping your tone of voice and your messaging in there, and then ChatGPT will start recognizing and building that framework and content off the back of your own voice. So doesn't sound AI-esque.
Yeah.
It's actually, yes, they'll format it a little bit, properly and stuff, but it'll learn as it goes along. It's your voice. That's the beauty about it. Like most people don't do that. They just say write a post about XYZ and it spits out something that it's AI driven. But the best way is to speak into it, record your own voice, tell it a story, ask it to write a short LinkedIn post about it. Simple.
That's a good tip. Really good tip, actually. I'm going to do that, talk into it. Because when I use it to help frame content, but the biggest thing for me is making sure it's actually me and making sure that, because there's nothing worse. Like when I'll scroll LinkedIn and I'll see someone do a post and it's just so obvious. I know that person, I know how they sound and how they talk. And then the post is just nothing like them. And I just don't even want to read it. And then if you combine that with like the hyphens and the 1000 emojis, it's like, come on.
Yeah, and people are just learning, and it's going to evolve.
Yeah.
We're in this quagmire at the minute, and it's moving scarily fast, like
Yeah.
scarily fast.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting, and people are just trying to keep up. So have a little bit of grace. Like I'm sure we've all done the ChatGPT post that we cringe now looking back, but or at least we're getting into the trenches.
Yeah. At least people are actually posting more, even if it
Yeah,
is because of that, which is, yeah,
yeah.
which is good. What's your take on the future, I guess, of logistics and marketing? I know it's probably a broad question, but where do you sort of see things shifting and trending?
Yeah, as I just mentioned earlier, I think that the shift, from solely focused on company marketing to more personal branding with the C-suite leaders or anyone, in fact, that wants to actually promote their personal brand that's tied to the business. I see that's happening a lot and definitely jumping on that wagon to help people do that better. And then, yeah, it's really, really scary in the sense of I think websites will be obsolete in 2 or 3 years' time because people will have their own personal brand and as I said to you, like LinkedIn's your own little landing page. You don't have to go any further. Yeah, I think, and then it's going to be an interesting 3 to 5 years. Like, what do you think from your perspective from, in recruitment? Like, I had a guy in my office here. He was at the robotics conference over in Shanghai a couple of weeks ago, and he was saying they were showcasing, robots for blue collar workers, like factory workers and stuff. And he said that's really scary because, yes, AI is taking over, the sort of your white collar jobs in a sense with, these learning language models, and then he says these robots, which are going to be very cheap and very effective, they're going to be in the mix of things in the not too distant future. So, like, what's your take? You probably looking into this more than I would be, but what's your take?
Yeah, it's a good one. I've actually heard that. I can't remember now who I was speaking to, but I've heard that one around those robots. But I just think things are changing so incredibly quickly, but I'm also, I would probably say cautiously optimistic. Like I don't necessarily think that we're just all going to be replaced and obsolete in the next 3 years. I think certain functions in certain roles will become redundant over the next few years. But at the same time, it's an opportunity for those people to cross skill and upskill, and they will have other opportunities. It's not like robots are going to come in and then all of a sudden they've got no job, nothing to do. I think it'll allow people to upskill and to learn new things. But also, I think that AI is one of those things where, we had the internet around the, late 90s, early 2000s. We had Web 2.0, which was social media. This is like number three, I think. Like AI is as big as, in my opinion, it's as big as the internet. And I think it's going to change the game. I don't know. I really don't know what the future would hold, but I think you've just got to embrace it. And I think that you run the risk of just being left behind if you ignore it and if you're naive to it. You've got to embrace it. But I think overall, I think the logistics and the transport industry and the freight industry, I mean, you've probably seen the numbers. It's a very steadily growing industry and huge forecast to growth, right, over the next few years. So I don't think it's going anywhere. It's going to evolve in different ways and things will be automated. I think there's a really good opportunity for some of the smaller to mid-tier players as well, especially if they adapt and utilize some of these technologies and some of these tools. And if they come out the gate from day one and build build their personal brands and their company brands rather than they've been established for 30 years and then all of a sudden they've got to start all over again, I think they're going to have a pretty
Yeah.
big leg up as well.
If anyone was interested in that sort of quadrant, you can go to my website called haul.agency, and you can download it for free. Just explains, like content marketing and the logistics and how it works. Those prospects, employees, customers and potential future talent, and it explains different types of content for each. People can go to my website and check that out. I'm optimistic as well about the future and marketing and logistics. It's just going to turn into more of AI marketing for logistics. And yeah, I can't keep up with all of the platforms that are coming out. It's ridiculous.
It's nuts. Final couple of questions from me, and then I'll let you go. Are there any good books or like podcasts or anything that you take inspiration from yourself personally?
Yeah, so just on off the back of that quadrant that I talked about, that's from Alex Hormozy. So I'm sure you've seen that guy online. So I've been following him for years whenever he had no followers. His YouTube channel is awesome from a business perspective. He just gives it all away. Just got his new book sent to me yesterday. He's brilliant. Gary Vaynerchuk is another one. And then, as I say, the CEOs I built with some of my clients, as I said, Moz Casby, he's a massive inspiration. He's a real visionary. Craig Webster from Arrow, he's another guy that like it's just came from grassroots and very inspirational and open, visionary kind of people too. And I've came across a good few people in the industry like that, and it's awesome.
No, I love it. Yeah. So Haul.agency, Haul.agency.
.agency, that's a complete domain. People always say, "Oh, is there not a .com.au?" And I was like, "Nah, agency is actual
Yeah.
custom domain." So yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I think everyone can jump on and download that playbook. We've certainly got clients that need to do that, so they can reach out to you and have a chat about improving their marketing. And good to know that you kind of do the full gamut, right? Full service agency. You guys cover everything.
Yeah, full service website. If the website needs updating, and then the company marketing. But as I say, the personal branding and outreach is where I'm spending the majority of my time now, helping a lot of individuals, which is easier than the company marketing because it's so end to end and vast.
Yeah, absolutely. Nice one. Well, I really appreciate you coming on, and yeah, it's really interesting just to get your insights and perspective because it's. I think you've got such a good opportunity. From what I see, a lot of companies are really needing help with their marketing and with their online and personal branding. So I'm sure you'll be a busy man over the next few years.
Yeah,
And,
hopefully, fingers crossed.
yeah, sounds good. All right, thank you, Pete.
All right, thanks, Sam. Cheers.